Hey guys, Aaron here, formerly in a way known as Cutting Edge Retro on YouTube. If you've clicked on this video, then you may be looking at one of my auctions on eBay currently for either of my two Radeon card collection bundles that I'm selling. I wanted to do a video. This is not the first time I've sold cards in bundle from my collection, and I learnt a few lessons from the last batch of sales that I did, and thought that I might do a quick video to sort of explain why I'm doing them in the bundles, and why the price is what it is, and also talk about the cards that are in there as well, just so you get a better understanding of what's for sale. Um, so I'm going to start first with the ATI non-Ruby collection. We'll get to that one in a minute. So this is the bundle that features the Rage Fury Max, the Radeon 64 meg DDR, the two Crossfire 1950 XTXs, or the bundle with the cable, and then the two 2900 XTs, etc. So and the other couple of cards that are in that bundle as well. So this is kind of the last remnants of my um, bulk ATI collection. I actually, in my previous sales, I was very heavily getting rid of a lot of my NVIDIA cards and didn't want to let go of these cards in particular just yet. I wanted to do a few more bits and pieces with them, especially with the Crossfire bundles, and just sort of play around with a bit more. And in the end, they collected dust and I did nothing with them. Such as life. So I've come to the conclusion that I was tossing up selling a few of them individually, like the Crossfire ones individually, or the boxed Sapphire 2900 XT individually, the Rage Fury Max individually, and then and this is like over the last 2 years, right? I jumped on eBay and was like, okay, what are they going for? And the prices are just all over the place. Some are working, some are not working on eBay. Just like to point out that every card in this particular bundle is fully working. At some stage or another, all of them have actually been used in an active system. They've been benchmarked. They've had games run on them, especially the Rage Fury Max, around the same time as Nathan from Pixel Pipes years ago put out his Rage Fury Max video. He actually mentioned he'd picked up a second Rage Fury Max. My Rage Fury Max is actually his original card, so it was the card that belonged to him originally. When he got he got a different model that he wanted, and he ended up sending me over the Rage Fury Max that I've got in my collection, that I'm letting go. Um, oh, I think all of the cards are in pretty much, I don't want to say pristine condition, except for one, which I'll get on in a minute. All of them they're used. I've kept them in bubble wrap and in foam for the length of time that I have owned them, but there's like just normal on a shelf, whatever wear and tear, like your little, scratches here or there. There's nothing that is cosmetically bad that if you wanted to display any of these cards, except for one, um, they are very presentable in a display case, for example, even with light on them and you get up close to them, they're pretty good. They don't look mint, but they look near enough, if that makes any sense. The one card that does have a bit of decal damage is the Radeon 9800 XT. Unfortunately, that's actually the second. I've actually got another one of those cards. This is my second one that I'm selling in this bundle, and the decal has been scratched off it. I got it in that condition. Was going to do some cool artwork on it and didn't end up getting around to it. So yeah, it is what it is. So with that being said, I want to talk quickly about the Crossfire X1950 set that I have. They are a matched pair of power color cards that are fully working in very, very good condition with a brand new, genuine new old stock Crossfire cable that is compatible for those, for that generation of X1950 cards. That cable was only made for the 1000 X1000 series of cards, so your 1800 and 1900 cards for Crossfire. The previous generation of X850 cards that very briefly had Crossfire had a different cable, and then of course the 2900 XTs went to the traditional Crossfire, which is your your normal Crossfire bridge setup after. So it's a very limited run of cards that had that particular style of Crossfire with that cable. As far as I'm aware, there was a small batch of this new old stock when I bought this cable. Um, I know of a couple other people that bought from that same batch with this cable, and I don't know. I haven't actually even looked on eBay to see whether there's any more at all at the moment for sale. All I know is that when I was actively looking for one, they were rare as hen's teeth to find the cables, especially one in new condition and working, because they are a very thick cable. They don't bend very easily, and if you've had a lot of wear and tear on them over the years, you may have broken the cables. So finding one in good condition that's guaranteed to work, who knows? It might be hit or miss. I've tested these cards in a AMD FX60 939 system. I've also tested them on a newer system. I actually tested them out on my 2500K 1155 system. I also tested them on an older Extreme Edition Intel system. Absolutely amazing. Under Windows, you get Windows XP, Windows Vista, and I believe Windows 7. I'm pretty sure Windows 7 because I did that with the 2500K system and it actually seemed to work okay. But I think the bulk of my time playing with them was under Windows XP. I would say that's their sweet spot. They are DirectX 9 cards, so that's kind of where they flourished. That is their sort of last, Service Pack 3, Windows XP. That's kind of their sweet spot. Yeah. Very quickly, wanted to talk about the 2900 XT. So you might notice that one of them is boxed and one of them is not. They are both Sapphire cards. One is a 512 meg card, the other is a 1 gig card, which is the slightly more rarer, albeit it's slightly slower, 1 gig card. So it's like 5% slower than the 512 meg card for some reason. Goodness knows why. Well, we know why. It's the RAM is slower, but point is that why they made it slower, I don't know. Anyway, the boxed Sapphire 512 meg card. That was a new old stock purchase when I got it. Obviously, I've used it. It has usage on it now, so I wouldn't call it new anymore. However, it comes with all the accessories, including an unused it's either orange box or Half-Life key that hasn't been peeled off and hasn't been used. So if you want to use it, if you buy it, go for it. It's a really good, it's in very, very good condition. The other thing I want to point out as well, actually, I'll come on to that after. The other Sapphire card, the 1 gig card, did originally have a normal red flame cooler. I've lost the cooler. I do not have it anymore, unfortunately. However, they're not that rare. A 20, I believe it's the same as the 512 meg, so you can actually interchange the 512 meg cooler with the 1 gig cooler. They are identical. So if you have one, you can slap it on and go for it. I've included 2 Cooler Master water blocks, and I put one of the water blocks on the 1 gig card to protect it, just because I didn't want to have it just as a naked PCB. I don't want to send it overseas around the world and have it break, so I figured something solid and chunky like that would keep it a bit more protected. These two these two water blocks are interchangeable between the 512 or the 1 gig cards. They are brand new. They have never had any water go through them. There is 0 corrosion in them. If you want to hook them up and use them in a water cooling system, you can. However, I will state that I would personally not, because they are made of nickel coated aluminium and nickel coated nickel coated copper. It is a mixed metal water block from the time when water cooling didn't know any better and mixed metals were everywhere. So I have had a third card with a water block that was full of corrosion. I don't have it anymore. I threw the water block away, and I managed to find 2 of these brand new. End up selling the card that originally came with a water block, and I had the 2 left over. They take standard 1mm, 1.5 mil thermal pads. That's it. You put it on the memory chips, and I believe you put some on the VRM, and then all the screws for them are included. So there's nothing missing from the water blocks that you would need. You do have to buy your own thermal pads. I don't have any more, unfortunately, and they're good to go. You can put it on the 512 meg card if you happen to want to do that as well, or if you want to run one card in a system, run the 1 gig card in a system, um, water cooled, and then you go, oh yeah, crap, it has started to eat away the water block. I don't want to use it anymore. And then you've got a spare water block if you'd like to put the second one on. Um, they are not used for hardline. They are for soft tubing. You cannot take the fittings off and replace them with hardline compatible fittings. So you do have to use soft tubing. Just keep that in mind. Okay, having said that, the bundle itself. A little bit more about the bundle. I decided to put all of these together because I want all of them to go. I need to clear all of them, and the easiest way for me to do that is in a bundle altogether. A lot of these cards I do know are desirable individually or as pairs. However, I don't want to go through the logistic mess of trying to sell all of them individually. I don't have time for that, unfortunately. I am very busy now these days, and I do not have the time to do that, unfortunately. So that is the primary reason I'm selling them all in a bundle. I do not have the time to deal with the logistics of all of them one by one, and the a little bit on that is you end up paying a higher fee if you sell them all individually to all different countries and things like that, depending on where they go. Again, don't want to deal with the logistics of that. I just want to put them all in a box, very well protected, in bubble wrap, very well wrapped up and put together. I've got a massive, big roll of bubble wrap that I send all my cards very well protected in. My really, really, let's say, sought after NVIDIA collection went all the way to Russia. All of them survived, and the guy was extremely happy. So um, that was before things that are happening now. Anyway, okay, I'll come on to the other collection, the Ruby collection. Um, this is one that I debated the most, uh, second most, because there's actually another set of cards that I might sell separate to all of this. Anyway, the Ruby bundle. This was a personal goal of mine to collect Ruby decal cards, not just any Ruby decal card, but ones that all have the kind of unique Ruby decals from the years that go with the tech demos that ATI and their board partners released for the different generations. So that was the main reason I got the specific cards that I did. Not to get all flagships, not to get every single little willy-nilly Ruby card that was available, because I did have a lot offered to me, and I turned down 99.9% of them because they just were not something I was interested in having, like an X700 Pro that had an identical decal to one of the other bigger cards that I had. So, yeah. Um, all of these cards are working except for one, and I'll come on to that in a minute. The two highlight cards, one of them which I'll get to in a minute, are the two engineering sample cards in this collection. I do not know of any other of these having been sold in recent years. Maybe one of them. That is the HD 3870 and 3870 X2. Now, the X2 is the only card in this collection, particular bundle, that is not working. It has had a rough life. It has been in a skip. It was rescued from a skip. It has changed hands several times, and it has got a lot of scratches. It is the worst, unfortunately, it is the worst visually looking card out of any card I'm selling in any of the bundles, unfortunately. It is still good. I would class it as good because you can still see everything clearly. It's just got scratches around the edge of where it's been knocked about in bits and pieces, and the back of it is a little bit scratched. It is not working. It is missing capacitors, missing bits and pieces from the back of it. It is probably repairable for someone who knows what they are doing. I did have an offer to get it repaired overseas. However, the cost of sending it over to get it fixed and having it back, to me, it wasn't worth it because I knew I might end up selling it at some point. So that the value in doing that might have gone out the window. Um, Maybe we'll see. Um, the engineering sample, not the X2 card, so the dual, not the dual chip one, but the normal single chip 3870 engineering sample card. I don't know of any other example working other than this particular one. I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't kept up with the collecting scene in the last 3 or 4 years, so I do not know who's got what, whether any have been uncovered. So I could be completely wrong here. Take that with a grain of salt. However, at the time when I found it, um, it was listed incorrectly on eBay, and I managed to pick it up, and it was really good. It is fully working. I actually have an EK. I actually have another one right there, an MSI one that I'm hanging on to, um, that actually has EK original EK Crossfire water blocks for the HD 3870s. The engineering sample was originally a part of my SLI bundle. Decided to not use it given that it's a working engineering sample. It ran a little bit hot. I think the voltages are a little bit higher on it compared to a retail sample. So I thought better safe than sorry, and I deblocked it, put the air cooler back on it. It is made sure it's working, and then it's been wrapped in bubble wrap and in my collection cupboard up there ever since. The decal on that particular card is a screen, I guess it's called a screen print, I guess it's called, rather than a sticker decal like several of the other cards. The same as the 3870 X2, by the way. They are printed onto the actual or printed. I'm guess printed onto the actual shroud. They are not sticker decals that you can peel off. Hence, the damage is a bit more permanent to those, or to that one in particular. I didn't know this existed, but I managed to also pick up a retail 3870 with the screen printed ruby decal on it as well. So I have an engineering sample and a retail sample with the same decal on it. I do not know any other collectors that have these three cards with the ruby decal. I do know that there are 3870 X2s with the same decal, with the sapphire, the ruby eyes zoomed in. I have seen them, but they are not engineering sample cards that I know of. I believe Sapphire and one other company actually did launch reference versions of that card to retail with that decal on it for a short period of time. Um, I do not know, however, what companies launched the retail version of the non X2 card with that screen printed ruby decal either. It might be an OEM card, for example, like it might be a warranty replacement straight from AMD, for example, because every other, when you go onto Tech Power Up and look at all of the launch versions of that card, unless it was maybe a very early, I'm speculating here, unless it was a very early retail review sample that came from AMD and went to an outlet that didn't go through an AIB. Maybe, I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, you if you buy this bundle, you'll be one of the only people in the world to have the engineering sample that matches the retail sample. Um, the engineering sample cards, I have not been able to get the BIOS off of the X2 card because it is not working. It does not post, doesn't allow me to get it off. I don't have an EEPROM to get it off that way. The engineering sample 3870, however, I have a copy of that BIOS. It is a near retail release and does show up as a 3870, not the R5067 or whatever it was, like the code name for the chip. Like some of the earlier engineering. So it is a late sample engineering, a late revision of the engineering sample. It's not one of the older ones before the naming become 3870. Because I believe These cards may have been like the 2900 or some. I don't know what the I, don't know, I can't remember what the original plan was to be with these cards. But anyway, um, yes, the other card that I'm selling, you might notice in this bundle, I'm selling a Crossfire set. In the other bundle, there is actually another X1950 XTX 512 meg Crossfire card in this bundle. I do actually happen to have, maybe it's in the cupboard actually. Um, I do actually happen to have another non-Crossfire X1950 XTX that I'm keeping for myself. I'm keeping only a handful of what's left of my collection, by the way. These two bundles are the last remaining bulk sell that I will ever do because I'm running out of cards to sell. And pretty much, apart from maybe one or two here or there, what I've got left, I'll be hanging on to for a long, long time because they're either too valuable personally to me, or that I know that these are cards that I want to keep for an active build that I want to keep, or they are ones that I know will keep for a long time and be worth a bit in a long, long time, like 20 years time. Um, like my other Voodoo cards, for example. So the other card I want to mention in the Ruby bundle is the HD 5870 2 gig card. That is actually an Ifinity card, so it has 6 DisplayPort outputs, and it is 2 gig instead of the standard 1 gig that the original, the normal regular 5870 cards shipped with. I actually have all of the breakout cables that belong to that card. This is a new old stock card. It has been used for less than 10 minutes total of installing drivers on Windows 7, running a few benchmarks to make sure it works. It has then been powered off, put in a bubble wrap sleeve, and never used again. It was in a brown box, like a new old stock warranty replacement style card, um, and it has never been used. It is, apart from me using it, I should say, it's practically brand new, near new, and that's why the decal's in mint condition and stuff as well. So that is probably one of the cleanest cards out of the entire set out of either collections, by the way. Um, yeah. Both of these bundles will have a price tag. Okay, so now I'm going to get on to why I'm selling them in bundles a little bit more and the prices of why I'm selling them for what I am. The reason I'm doing that is because I had a few random messages on eBay when I was selling my original, like a few years ago when I was selling my Nvidia bundles and bits and pieces. They're people that are either not familiar with the collecting scene, they're people that I had never spoken to prior, who basically were, saying, oh, these cards are not worth that much. Just your typical, blah blah blah. I can't afford this, so I'm gonna complain that it's so much sort of thing. Um, my typical response to those was polite, and it was, these are one being sold as a collection and as a bundle for an average value less than the individual asking price that I could get for all of them if I wanted to go through and ask for all of them one by one. So essentially, I looked on eBay at the first bundle that I looked at, for example. Some of the Rage Fury Maxes that I could see of similar revisions to mine were selling for around $1,000 on their own. I have no idea on the Crossfire set what that would be worth. I know it's probably going to be a couple of $100 at least, probably closer to $500 if I was to put them up on their own with the Crossfire cable, because I know how rare that cable is, especially as a new working cable and these cards being fully working. They may, in a bid scenario, go up to about $500 Australian on their own. So, having said that, for every other card that's in this bundle, you can see where the value lies. So, my typical response to people that were like, why are you charging so much for these cards, is one, if you're asking this question, this bundle is not for you. Go find the individual cards, then good luck. I wish you all the best in finding those cards individually. These are from a collector who has spent many years, and I will say that genuinely because it has been now over 10 years of actively collecting. Some of the cards that I've got in these two bundles I've had for close to 15 years. So yeah, um, especially the engineering sample cards, they were ones that I looked at quite heavily and spent a lot of time trying to get. A couple of other cards, especially, there is a bit of sentimental value there, a little bit, which I know some of you will think, well, that's on me to, that's irrelevant to someone else buying them, who might just want to buy them for profit and part this collection out and sell them individually. If you do that, that's on you. I don't really care. I'm hoping they go to fellow collectors that are going to have them use them and or display them and share them with the community. Do videos about them, maybe things like that, because some of these cards do deserve to have a bit more love. Not just what I've done for the last few years and keep them in bubble wrap bags in a closet and not been able to share them with you guys. Hence why wanting to sell them. The other question is I had a couple of people ask about comments because I made it publicly known what I was doing with the money from selling my last bundles, and that was upgrading my golf set and bits and pieces. I had a few sour comments and a few narky comments sent through about that, I guess. Um, so pretty much, I'm just not going to tell you what I'm planning to do with the money with this lot. It's going to get repurposed. This is a hobby. It's going to get repurposed towards another hobby, a different hobby, let's just say. But ultimately, I'm a family man now, and so this is going to go towards happiness. Let's just leave it at that. The asking price for these bundles is $1,000 starting for the Ruby bundle and $1,200 for the just non-Ruby ATI bundle, Australian plus shipping. These are values that I've come to given the uh, packing material, the cost of shipping, and my experience in what these cards would typically go for. If I was to sell them all individually, it would be double all of this, double that amount easily. And I'm not interested in getting the maximum for every single card individually. I'm interested in selling them to a fellow collector who's interested in owning all of these cards and might is comfortable in paying that amount for what I'm selling. It's as simple as that. If you think it's too much, that it's maybe $200 worth of cards or whatever, look elsewhere. These are not bundles, or these are not cards that are meant to go to someone like yourself. These are to go to fellow collectors that understand the amount of time and effort that went into collecting these cards, keeping them, and also maintaining them. Because some of these cards did arrive to me in very poor condition, and I have had spent hours, if not a few weeks, getting replacement parts, doing some fixing on them, things like that, trying to get them back up to clean and presentable or collectible condition. So, yeah. Anyway, with that said, happy bidding. I hope these do end up with a collector that's happy to share these with the world. And pretty much this is the last big bundles that are left in my collection. I think from now on, the cards that I have left will be sold individually. There might be a couple more in the next within the next 12 months, maybe, if I can bring myself to do it. The cards that I have left they're all very meaningful to me. So, a lot more than what these ones are. So, yeah. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and happy bidding. Farewell.